India was the highest or just about the highest tariff nation in the world.
First, it was a 25% tariff threat, along with a penalty for India, because we were importing Russian oil. A threat that New Delhi shrugged off.
India and the United States share a comprehensive global strategic partnership anchored in shared interests, democratic values, and robust people-to-people ties. This partnership has weathered several transitions and challenges.
And now, just 5 days since, Trump has once again threatened to impose higher tariffs on India, stating that India is not only buying massive amounts of Russian oil, they are then, for much of the oil purchased, selling it in the open market for big profits. They don't care about how many people in Ukraine are being killed by the Russian war machine, and because of this, I will be substantially raising the tariff paid by India to the USA. And instead of a muted response like last time, the Indian government has reacted strongly to this. In a statement, the MEA has highlighted America's approval of New Delhi's oil trade with Russia, initially after the Ukraine war started. The statement, however, goes on to target the European Union and US for still having trade ties with Moscow and targeting unreasonably. The most important were points 3, 4 and 5 by MEA, which categorically reflected how much trade West still did with Russia. The statement said that the European Union in 2024 had a bilateral trade of 67.5 billion euros in goods with Russia. In addition, it had trade in services estimated at 17.2 billion euros in 2023. This is significantly more than India's total trade with Russia that year or subsequently. European imports of LNG in 2024 in fact reached a record 16.5 million tons, surpassing the last record of 15.21 million tons in 2022. Europe and Russia trade includes not just energy, but also fertilizers, mining products, chemicals, iron and steel, and machinery and transport equipment. The United States continues to import from Russia uranium hexafluoride for its nuclear industry, palladium for its EV industry, and fertilizers as well as chemicals. Now let's try and break down how much exactly did the EU and the US traded with Russia in the year 2023, 2024, and so on. Until 24th February 2022, Russia was one of the main trade partners of the European Union. And it is true that since 2023, the European Union trade with Russia has undergone a dramatic transformation driven by sanctions and policy shifts following the Russia-Ukraine war. However, it's far from being completely over. According to the Trade and Economic Security by the European Commission, between 2022 and 2024, the total two-way trade in goods between the EU and Russia went down from 257.5 billion euros to 67.5 billion euros. This was primarily due to severe drops in both exports and imports. Imports from Russia stood at $51 billion in 2023. By the middle of 2024, EU imports from Russia had fallen more. But still, by September, the imports from Russia were at almost 32 billion euros. This was just the trade in goods. In terms of services, EU exported close to 12.3 billion euro worth of services to Russia, while importing close to $4.9 billion worth of services. Europe has continued its imports of energy such as natural gas, coal, with nearly 17% of Russia's market share. Apart from that, EU still imports key chemicals, fertilizers, iron and steel from Moscow. EU's natural gas imports in Q1 of 2025 touched 18.2 billion euros. And not only that, the gas exports from Russia to EU increased by 37% in July 2025 as compared to previous month, according to a report by Reuters. So as rightly pointed out by India in its statement, the European Commission still has trade ties with Russia. Although drastically declined, the imports from Russia still form a big pile in EU's goods and services. The trade relationship between Russia and the United States from 2022 to 2024 saw a dramatic contraction with sanctions, export controls and fallout from the Russia-Ukraine war, fundamentally reshaping both the scale and composition of bilateral commerce. Still, key Russian goods continued to flow into the US in 2024. These included $1.1 billion worth of fertilizers, $878 million worth of palladium, $624 million worth of uranium, and $75 million worth of aircraft engine parts. This was the data as per the US International Trade Commission. As a matter of fact, US fertilizer imports from Russia between January and May 2025 were up 21% year on year and 60% higher than the $503 million imported during the same period in 2021. Similarly, uranium imports rose by 28% to 596 million and surged 147% compared to 241 million in January-May 2021. So collectively, both EU and US have done billions of dollars worth of trade between 2022 and 2025 and did not completely stop after the Russia-Ukraine war started. And as far as India is concerned, it is the second largest importer of Russian oil after China. The Niti Aayog's April-June report revealed that in Q1 FY25, India recorded significant year-on-year import growth with Russia. India imported about 1.75 million barrels per day of Russian oil from January to June in 2025, up 1% from a year ago, according to the data provided by Reuters. While India is among the top importers of Russia and China, the country is among the top exporters to the US. India remains a substantial exporter of refined petroleum products and other mineral fuels. So while it is unclear as to why Trump would not go after China, EU for still trading with Russia, the US president has clearly, selectively targeted India for continuing its trade with Russia, whereas EU and US themselves have continued trade as per their own accord. For more news and updates, keep watching Live Mint.
In a world where business never stops, Mint keeps you ahead, any screen, anytime. From studios to the ground, Mint breaks down business, leadership, and lifestyle, boldly, visually, and smartly. From boardrooms to markets, from personal wealth to industry trends, we bring you the insights that matter.
Mint is doing brilliantly well. It's a well-read page, I would think.
What fuels India's biggest CEOs? Ride along and find out.
I have to work that much harder. I have to put that much more in.
Over the years. Earlier I could say, no, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
But now I can.
Want to invest like the pros? Learn from India's top market experts.
Things like that worry me about markets.
I don't want to buy a house to invest.
Your money, your future. We make finance simple. Step inside breathtaking homes and the creative minds behind them.
So we are at the house in Camellias. I think Camellias is the most expensive property in the NCR and probably the most expensive in the country.
India's real estate scene decoded. No jargon, no fluff.
Home buyers will have more bargaining power.
It's a great time to buy a house as well.
Some chase success, others create it. Meet the ones who made the impossible possible.
I don't want to be a doctor, I don't want to be an engineer, I don't want to be an accountant. That's the most fragile thing. Poof, it will go away.
वो ताली ऐसी थी ना, इतनी addictive थी, मैंने कहा बॉस अब तो यही होगा.
We don't just talk business, we show it. And the world's watching.